So long as it ever went. Welcome everyone to our 62nd. I have to look at the numbers. I'm lost. 62nd. We've been doing so many of these that it's hard to keep track now. So we're going to try to keep you numerically balanced. So we're on our 62nd show. My name is Brian Bacchus. Yours isn't. And to my left over here,
I am Jamal Smith, and I have a country twang today. I don't know why, but all of a sudden I do. But welcome everybody who participates in this this journey that we're on to help rebuild Altadena. Call Altadena Talks. Yes, I'm trying to rebuild Altadena bigger, better, and stronger than it ever was before. Today is a very special day, and I have a very special announcement. So it is our honor, and I have a long intro, so hold tight with me because we got a proud. We're proud of this. It's our honor to welcome Dr. Tamitra Clark to Altadena Talks. Dr. Clark is a licensed therapist, author, speaker, and grief and loss educator with over 20 years of experience in social services and mental health. She holds a doctorate in multicultural clinical community psychology and is the founder of ROTM Wellness Coaching, where she supports individuals through their healing journeys with compassion and purpose. Her book, When Numb Is Not Enough, and her radio show of the same name offer powerful insights into navigating grief and living intentionally. Dr. Clark also serves as a professional expert for the Foster Kinship Education Program and is deeply involved in her community, empowering families, supporting expected mothers, and caring for seniors. Her greatest joy is being a proud mother to her inspiring son. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tamitra Clark. And
welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Well, I was waiting for the cue, dude.
I know, my bad. Welcome, Tamitra. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And as we indicated before, B has a special name for you. What you call her?
Dr. Author, because that was my pet name for her because she has her doctorate and she also is an author of books. So what better way to explain this person to somebody? Oh, she's a doctor author. Think about that. And then get back to me.
When my mom got her doctorate, I started calling her Dr. Mom. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Tamitra, thank you again for coming on to the show. Just love for you to just give a little background, how your connection to Altadena, and we'll start there. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, thank you guys for having me today. I want to clarify a couple things. I know in the bio, as I said, the website is being updated. So, I'm not licensed as of yet. But I've been in this journey for 24 years now. And so I practice from a coaching lens because it's important for me, for anyone that I sit with, to see where they are, where they want to be, and then we map out the steps to get there. So it keeps me free from diagnosing people because there's such a big stigma about being diagnosed with a mental health condition. And so the coaching process allows me to sit freely and allow them to sit freely with no judgments attached. And the radio show, we don't have the radio show right now because my engineer is sick. So we'll get back to that later. But my connection to Altadena is I was born and raised in Altadena. I am an Altadenian from the core of my being. Went to all Pasadena Unified School Districts. And when we had the fires, no one knew that 2025 was going to come in such a big fashion.
No, not at all.
No one thought they were going to go to sleep January 6th and wake up running literally for their lives on early morning, January 7th. from something that we deal with all the time, right? We deal with these fires, they're coming down the hill. We're like, okay, yeah, we'll leave and just come back. And it just was not that this
Yeah,
time. And
nobody
nobody,
expected that.
We never had
nobody,
fire or winds like this.
just like COVID, nobody was ready for that. Everybody went to work that day in March in 2020. But by the time you got off work, everything was shut down.
That's
And
the
lots
reason we're on today is because that was one of our questions. 20 to now 2025, these kids.
the kids,
Remember how we grew up? We had a great childhood throughout all our high school, the junior high, elementary. They have not had yet. Kids have not been able to have their childhood,
Right.
they
their
have
high school
not.
years.
They have not. And I think that the community and society has kind of left them out of the picture. We're still seeing the impact of COVID on our kids' academic
Mhm.
success or lack thereof. I saw A students, B students drop down to C and D students, and still trying to make that up because they missed almost 2 years of their education. So, do you know how much emotional and social development and intelligence that they missed out on? And trying to make up for that is a challenge because they're still trying to attack at education in the traditional sense. And it'll no longer be traditional
No,
anymore. And
That's
so
so
it's
true.
about meeting each student where they're at. And I get it. That's hard to do because that's almost a customized education plan for each student. But that's really what it's going to take because you forced them into a way of learning that was not conducive for more than half of the population that was forced to be in that situation.
right.
Yeah, one of my daughters had a really tough time with coming
Mhm.
out of COVID, and that lack of social connection, and trying to do everything on the computer, it just wasn't working for her, and she dropped. Well, it wasn't quite as bad as you had indicated, but it was at least one grade.
Mhm. Mhm.
For each of her classes compared to what she was used to. But she's been able to rebound pretty well, which is,
Good.
thankfully. But I know that there are some others that are still struggling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're struggling. And then here they find themselves again, many of them back in a similar situation where they were out for a period of time and then even being back on campuses that are not their own.
Correct.
So still having what they were familiar with and what they were used to snatched out from under them. And they're just expected to just go on with business as usual.
Right.
And it's just not okay.
So, so there are not any sort of programs, or there's nothing being done for these kids at all. I mean, as far as you're aware, other than if a parent decides to take them to someone like a coach or a professional or something like that to kind of discuss where they are, is it that the schools aren't doing anything at all?
I haven't been contacted by the schools. I know of one place that has asked me to do some parent education. We're going to do that in May because the behavior problems of the children have increased because they
Mm.
don't know what to do. It's unfamiliar for them and it's unfamiliar to their parents. And so you have everyone sharing this space and no one knows what to do with it. And so hopefully that will, start a conversation and get people out there. I know that there have been several resources with therapists offering their services, and I'm not sure how they have gone about doing that. I know that I provided my information to Lake Avenue, who was supposed to be coming up with a community resource, kind of like one-stop shop thing, because the
Hmm.
resources were just becoming overwhelming to have to keep looking here and looking there and looking there. But
Right.
I have not been contacted yet. But at every event that I'm at, I make myself available.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Well,
go ahead, B.
that's one of the main reasons why we started this podcast, so we can provide a conduit for people to be able to disseminate information. So if moving forward, if you do have places where you're going to be or things that you're going to be doing that the public needs to be aware of, please be sure to give us the information so that we'll be able to, get it out there to the people that need it.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Awesome. So, specifically about the fires, how were you impacted? Did you lose a home, or do you have some family members that lost a home?
I have family members that lost homes. My godparents lost their homes. My auntie lost her home. My aunt and uncle. My mom did not lose her home, but was displaced for a while because the fire, the wind the night before did some damage, some electrical stuff. The house was red tagged, and they could not enter the house, and so she was displaced. And so we're talking 72-year-old, with some health challenges. Well, all her and her sisters, they're all seniors. And so that was very trying for them. And at the same time, last year, they were displaced for about 3 months because of the solar system in the home. They put solar panels on there and they put a hole in the roof. And so it was literally raining inside the house and mold issues. So they were evacuated from their home for about 3 months then. And so to turn around and have to be right back in that situation again has been a challenge for them to bounce back from. I'm still seeing there are moments where, my mom was asking questions about, what's going on and not really knowing how to navigate this space. And when you are in the mental health field and you work with seniors and you see the challenges, because even some of my patients here at the hospital who were directly impacted, and then you go home with it, it becomes a lot to deal with. And so you got to get creative as to now, well, what is your release from this? Because it will start to take both an emotional and physical toll on you if you're not.
True.
No, that's very true. And so when we deal with situations like this, we're all familiar with the term post-traumatic stress syndrome. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, there you
I'm
go.
sorry about
Oh, no worries.
I'm
Hey,
back.
we
That
know
was
about
the
technical issues. There's no big deal. But what I was saying is, we all know, especially with military folks, when they come back from combat or any sort of service, usually they come back with post-traumatic stress syndrome, or also
Mhm.
folks who deal with very traumatic situations. This is obviously a traumatic situation, and a lot of people are familiar with that term. Um, but
Mhm.
you have a different kind of perspective on it, right? So you have your own kind of angle, which is post-traumatic growth. Would you be able to explain maybe
Well,
the difference between the two, or
sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
sure,
So post-traumatic stress is a health condition that can result from perceived or real trauma. And that's the key, because what's perceived as traumatic for me may not be that for you, but it still causes me to have a certain type of response. And so there's categories that we look at in as a time frame. Whenever we're diagnosing mental health, we're looking at number of symptoms, we're looking at how long these symptoms have been present and the severity of these symptoms. So there's actually a precursor to your post-traumatic stress disorder, which is your acute stress disorder. Presents just like your PTSD, with the flashbacks and the dissociations and the avoidance and the nightmares, all of that. But again, it's about time frame. So you will start to have to 1 month after the exposure to the traumatic event. If those symptoms last more than a month, now you're entering into the PTSD. And so now it has become an impairment to your ability to function on a day-to-day basis, right? And so you're being impacted in that way. So traumatic is that possibilities. There's new possibilities out of these traumatic situations. They're kind of reinventing themselves so they continue to live productive lives. And the concept of post-traumatic growth is just looking at, if you give it a definition, it's positive psychological changes that some individuals experience as a result of struggling with highly challenging or traumatic life circumstances.
Uh-oh. Must have had a bad signal. Looks like she popped off. Hopefully she's able to come back on. But this is pretty good information that we're getting, at least in terms of technical backgrounds. What I was going to do is when she comes back, I'm going to follow up with some suggestions that she may have for everyone to kind of deal with these situations. Oh,
Exactly, Marcus. Yeah, me too.
I'm sure.
It's hard to, I'm hiding it, but this is, I'm still going through wake up and look around and going, especially if I'm really tired and have a deep sleep and I wake up and I still, like for the first month, I was driving back up late to go home when I realized there was no home to go to. And it just made me sad. And I would pull over and go, man, I'm so outside of my routine. It's not even funny. But, it's crazy. It's just, it is what it is, though. And like he said, we need help.
I'm sorry, that's why I wanted to do this on the computer. So what are the components of this PTP? When I'm sitting with people, I'm looking at what we call the 8 dimensions of wellness. So I'm looking at their emotional, their social, their environmental, intellectual, their financial, their physical, and their spiritual, right? Where they are and where they want to be. Well, what happens in this concept of post-traumatic growth is pulling out some of those elements. It's creating new meanings and possibilities from them. So we look at five areas. We look at gaining a new understanding of yourself, others, and the world around you, how to increase your personal strength, how to have a greater appreciation for life, how to have a stronger sense of spiritual connection, and improved relationships with others. And those are some of those that you find in the dimensions of wellness. And a lot of people, when they go through trauma, they think that's the end all. And it's about allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to have a different perspective of the challenges that you're going. And it's not easy to do, and not everyone has the capacity to do so, but it can be nurtured and developed, and it can be massaged so that they can get there and have these experiences as well. And so there's even a study as recent as 2018, because this concept came about in 1996, so it's still relatively new, by these psychologists named Tedeschi and Calhoun. And so they wanted to look at how people viewed themselves in time of trauma. And even as recent as 2018, because it's not something that's just so innately ingrained in people, they say that those 60 and under are more likely to be able to implement the post-traumatic growth process versus those who are 60 and older. And when you think about that as it relates to the fire, it makes sense, because many of our Altadena residents are seniors. And there have been several that I've spoken to that are like, I'm just not going to rebuild. I don't have that kind of energy. I just don't have it in me to rebuild. I'm just going to do something else and just sell the property. Whereas your younger group, those 60 and under, no. My grandparents gave me this house, or, I'm building. I'm not going anywhere.
Right. Or in the case of some who are helping their parents out, they're like, nah, we're going to help you rebuild. We're going to keep this house. We're going to make this work. Uh-oh. Looks like she froze.
There we go. So they're developing one of those areas, right? A new appreciation for life. Because now they're looking at, how do I move forward from this everyday and they're looking at their personal strength. It takes a lot of inner strength to be able to make the choice to say, no, I'm gonna ride this thing out and we're gonna rebuild and I'm going to do what I need to do to be able to sit here while it happens. And then the relationship part. Many families who were in conflict and who were estranged from each other, this fire has brought them together because they've had to rely on each other. Relationships are being restored through this process. And then just abilities in life. So say if someone did get a home that they inherited and it just may not have had the touches to it that they wanted, well now in this rebuilding process, I can make it exactly what I wanted to look like.
Yep.
And
We've
put
heard
my
that
seal of approval. And put my seal of approval on it. And then as it relates to the spiritual component, I heard one or two things happen. So I said, I'm done with this whole relationship, how there's that he's got can allow something like this to happen to me, or it has drawn them closer. And they've had to really rely on their faith in order to get them to the next step. And so it is a process because what has happened, this is one of the biggest situations of grief and loss that you can experience.
Exactly.
And so it's walking them through the stages of grief through this PTG process. Because my motto is embrace the pain, honor the loss, and live intentional. And that's what the PTG model is designed to do.
Man, that's great. I appreciate that explanation. It's very insightful. I don't know if you saw the comment, but one of our longtime participants of this Altadena Talks had indicated he's seeking out therapy right now. He's going through. Brian had made a comment about how he's struggling. Even today. He's waking up periodically, especially when he sleeps well or hard, trying to figure out where he is. And he had mentioned driving up Lake Street, going to his house, and then realizing, like, damn, the house isn't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the first month after the fires, was doing that every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I imagine everybody who was directly affected is going through some level or some degree of this same thing. What, in your opinion, what are the best ways for them to kind of start dealing with this and kind of getting to the other side?
Well, they've got to give themselves permission to go through the grieving process. It's a loss. And so being able to go through that, where am I at in this stage of denial? Have I really gotten through that? Am I still in shock? Because some people very well may be still in shock. Am I still numb? I think this is just a bad dream. And then we're at anger. Everybody's pissed off about this. Nobody's laughing about this. And it's okay because the anger that we experience from grief and loss is directly related to that comes from the connection and relationship with that loss. And so it's not angry as far as you did something to me, so now I'm going to get you back. It comes from a much more emotional place and going to be angry for a long time. And then depression, you have to look at, when you're in depression, grief and loss looks the same as it does in and people just don't to be able to navigate things. Some people are still in the bargaining process. What happens if I stay? What happens if I go and trying to make these decisions? No one has really gotten to the point of acceptance. And it's okay. We may never get to the point because these stages don't happen in at 9 a.m. But by the time I go to bed at 9 o'clock tonight, I'm mad again.
Yeah.
And so helping them to realize where they are in this, where are they stuck in this process of getting through that? And where would they like to see themselves on the other side of this? And then it becomes my job as their coach to help them put the pieces in place and to help them do the work and then allow myself to be there to give them the support that they need as they're going through this. And so when these thoughts and things come up, keep them out of our head. So And my business is for Queen of the Mind, because it requires a shift in your mindset before you can even think about doing anything that's going to bring you to the other side of joy and happiness. And everyone doesn't have that. We don't give ourselves permission because everyone has not been raised and developed in such a way where they can embrace those things. So culture plays a part in it. Your personal values and goals play a part in it. And so for me, it's important that they get those things that keep them stuck out. And then they also can write a letter to their loss. I lost my home. I'm gonna write a letter to my home. All the things I appreciate about my home, all the things that pissed me off about my home, how many things I had that I prepared about my home, and all the things I was looking forward to doing in my home. And then reading it out loud, because what happens when we read it out loud, that's what we then internalize. And we've got to put it out there. Put it out there, put this out there, put the happiness out there. And when you're writing, I'm always encouraging people to do it in ink and to make sure that you allow yourself to feel the letters. Ink has a texture to it. So when you write in ink, you can literally feel the words and the thoughts that are in your mind. And when I can feel the words and the thoughts, now I get to decide, what do these words feel like on the tip of my tongue? But now I am using my senses and apply my thing. What do they feel like? What do they sound like? What smells do I get from these words? Because now I'm creating a container for them. And they're not just out there hanging out in the abyss. I'm giving them a container. I'm giving them a place to live so that when I need to revisit them, I know exactly where to go. Or when things start happening and those triggers start coming, I can readily identify them. And now I can put my strategies in place to confront them so that they're not impairing my ability to function. And now I use them as a way to move me forward. So that's always one of my go-to things, is to write a letter to your loss.
That's
because
a cool concept.
We are all identified with our losses according to labels. How many labels did I have in my house? Was my identity in my home? Was my identity in the places that I went to? Because we've lost a lot of our community social gatherings. And then we begin to ask ourselves, can I still go there? Can I still have that in my home? Can I still be in those places? And the answer to those things is absolutely yes. They just look different, because now I get to redefine them in the process of this post-traumatic growth. I get to redefine what they look like and create a new way to allow them to be of value to me and serve me in a different way.
Wow. I love that concept. As I mentioned to you when we talked before, we've mentioned journaling, right?
I can't hear you guys.
Oh, you can't hear me? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you guys.
Yeah, you probably are on mute. Check your mute.
No, we can hear her. It should be fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No? No?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, period.
We heard you the whole
you.
time. All right, I'm going to remove her real quick and I'll bring her back.
Come back. I don't think that's going to work. Now you can't see
out of our heads and get it onto a canvas, see it and make better sense of it. Then we can start moving the pieces around. But it's not easy, because this requires a work on the self. And work on the self is the hardest work that you'll ever have to do, because we can't disconnect from ourselves. We're with ourselves 24/7. We go to our jobs, we clock in and we clock out. We try to clock out on ourselves, but at the end of the day, we're still there for ourselves. And so it is a hard process. It's a process that's not pretty. It's ugly. It gets murky. And when it gets to the tough parts, that's when we want to throw in the towel, but that's when we have to dig in the most. That's when we have to be 10 toes in, 10 fingers in, and we go through that thing. We allow ourselves to feel every emotion that there is to feel. And so I also have people look at Look at the word emotion. There's another word in there. It's motion. Your feelings and your emotions are designed to have movement, but we hold them hostage because they've served us at a period in time in our lives. But as we start to develop, they no longer serve us, but because that's all we know and that's all we have to hold on to, we keep them here. And then they begin to get manifest. A sickness. Now we got high blood pressure. Now our back is hurting. Now we got diabetes. And now we have all these things because we're not giving ourselves permission to let the emotions do what they need to do. They want to leave and they're asking, can you please let me go? And we're like, oh no, because if you leave, now what? And so this whole concept is really leaning into this may be a challenge for me. It may be scary for me, but I owe it to myself to see what's on the other side. So those are some things that I walk people through when we're going through this process.
That's amazing. Can you hear us at all now?
I still can't hear you guys.
Wow, it's weird.
Well, just keep talking.
Put it in the chat because I just see mouths going like that.
Okay.
And Brian laughing. So what else would you like me to have a conversation about? So one thing in the book that I talk about, I provide an opportunity for people to do just that. There's a section in the book where it looks at the stages of loss and to help people identify where they are and how they present for them, because how they present for everyone is different. And then there's also how does loss show up in each of these dimensions? All interconnected. So if we were to apply it to the fires, when we look at environmental wellness, that was the biggest piece of that 8-dimension model that was impacted. The very core of everyone's environmental foundation was snatched from
us. Got to get her back on here with her computer.
I can still hear her talking.
Safety has been eliminated from their lives. So what else has been impacted? Social, because we know that, again, a lot of the places that we used to go and we used to visit are not there anymore. There are many people have had their occupation impacted. They haven't been able to go to work because they're so emotionally distressed by what has happened. Their intellectual abilities have been impacted because they're not quite as outgoing as they used to be. Maybe this was a person that could give you an idea at the drop of a hat. They're not able to do those things anymore. Finances have been impacted because of the great expense that it's going to take to build, because everybody didn't have homeowners insurance.
True.
And so for those who were renters and the places that they were living were rental properties, what do? Right? So this thing, it's never just one piece of your dimensions of wellness that's going to be impacted. They're all interrelated. And when one is impacted, it becomes a domino effect for the other pieces. But when we identify the core, I'll say the core 2 or 3, and we start to rebuild in that section, you'll see that it's the domino effect in reverse. And what we have the tendency to do when we get in highly stressful situations and when we are impacted by trauma, we want to address everything at the same time. And so you're not getting the long-term benefits to a place of balance and homeostasis. But when we take the time to outline these things and we do these things, we can see where the greater need is, and we start tackling that piece of the puzzle and allow the other pieces to kind of work themselves out. Doesn't mean that there won't be any work to do in those other dimensions, but the work won't be so cumbersome. And
Right.
it's allowing yourself a break because the mind needs a break. And so as people are looking for resources every day and they're going to all these places and they're standing in these lines and they're making all these phone calls, I encourage them to give themselves at least one day during the week where they don't do anything and that they totally focus on themselves and the self-care aspect. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're still not going to be able to attend to the matters at hand in an effective way. And children are watching what we as the adults do. They're watching our responses to these things. They're watching our responses to stressful situations. And they're learning how to deal with these things by observational learning. Oh, that's how my mom handles that. Oh, okay, well then I can do that too. But if they see mom is in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, that's what they're going to do. And so even when we don't think their attention, how we respond to things is very important when we're in the presence of children, youth, or adolescents, because they're looking for a way out. They're looking for a solution. They're looking for other ways to handle things because they cannot handle high levels of stress. That's where their anxiety comes from. That's where their depression comes from. That's where their bipolar is coming from. And so we have to, at all times, set the example. Whether we choose to be role models or examples or not, by default, we are. And so it's important that we are sharing those skills and sharing how we move through this thing called life with, share them with our youth. Grab one, take them up under your wing, and let them know in that there's still life on the other side of this and that they can live intentionally through this process as well. So there's a lot that can come out of this whole concept of post-traumatic growth. I encourage people to learn more about it. Give me a call if you want to pursue, and I'll definitely sit down with you, see where they are. Because sometimes that things have impacted us in such a way. This thing called secondary trauma or vicarious trauma be for those. So, like for my mom, who didn't lose her home, but still had to go through an evacuation process, who was still displaced, who still had to go through the same things that someone who totally lost their home had to go through.
Right.
And experiencing those things can still create a lot of stress. For me, and being in the mental health field and being a support to those who have been directly impacted or those who have been indirectly impacted, I have to be careful that I don't fall into the secondary trauma or I don't fall into the vicarious trauma because it can have just as much of a devastating impact on me as it does on my clients. And so we always have to be mindful of that. I know some people had the thought process early on that if you weren't directly impacted, if you didn't lose your home, then you didn't have a right to some of the resources that were available out there. And that's not true because they have been impacted. Just because I still have my home, I couldn't go back to my home. So I was still at a place where I had no access to things. And so I was still in need of some things. And so those resources served a purpose for both directly impacted and indirectly impacted.
Right.
And for me, I don't see that there's anyone that was not directly impacted if they didn't lose their home. There was absolutely a direct community impact on a global level with this fire. And it just depends on where you want to start, where you see yourself, what level of impact do you see yourself at?
It's true.
And work from there to build yourself to where you want to be. But your life is never going to look the same. So dive into the post-traumatic growth process and build these areas of your life. We talk about resilience as being something. But when we talk about resilience as it relates to this post-traumatic growth, we're looking at bouncing forward. And to set myself up to bounce forward too. Or am I going to let my circumstances and my situations dictate how I maneuver through this process? So we get to make a conscious that we are allowed to open our. Am I going to live life today, or is life going to live me? We get to decide whether the thoughts in my mind are going to be thoughts that are going to bring me value, or are they going to be thoughts that cripple me? And it's easier said than done. I tell my patients all the time, I literally talk myself through each and every day. If my car could tell a story, what a story it would be able to tell. And I joke about it, and I say, sometimes when I get in my car is probably saying, oh no, here she comes again. like what is she gonna tell me today? What is she gonna be screaming about today? Because that's the only way that I can keep myself in a safe space. I've got to get it out. We can't sit with it, you guys. You can't just sit in it. We've got to move through it. It's ugly. It hurts. There's going to be some pain that comes with it, but we all owe it to ourselves to take a shift in our mindset and give ourselves in a little bit different way. It devastated us to our core, and it's left some pictures in our minds that will forever be there. But we can also recreate some new pictures so that we can embrace the pain, honor it, and live intentionally, and know that life still continues and that there is joy on the other side of this. But it's up to us as the individual how we want to see this thing out.
Man, that's powerful.
Can you hear us now?
Still can't hear us? What is going on? You can still hear me, B?
Yep. Send me a message in the chat. Thank you for having me so much. I hope there was something said that can shift the perspective for someone out there and let them know that they can still get on the other side of this. They can always contact me at the website, drclarkspeaks@gmail.com, or they can call at 626-328-7794. Again, that's 626-328-7794. Email is drclarkspeaks, that's all one word, @gmail.com. I look forward to hearing to you all soon. Again.
One second. Are you putting it up? There we go. Hey.
That's it.
Tutu, we thank you so much. We thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Tutu, we thank you so much for coming on today. We'll talk to you in a minute. We'll talk. I'm going to call you. Okay, my sister. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, can you not hear me?
Well, we got the point across. You guys got it. Here's the information right there. We've known Dr. Clark most of our lives. And when I say most of my life, I mean, I'm 58 and I've known her for about 40 of those 58 years. So most of us that come on the show that are part of this community are from Altadena. We've known each other most of our lives. And it's just basically, this show is really centered around therapy, informational resources, and just camaraderie of the community, trying to bring everybody together again, because we always hook up. You know, we have an annual football game that majority of us still go to at the Rose Bowl. We have different parades that happen that everybody comes out to, the Doodah Parade, the Old Fashioned Day Parade, the Black History Parade, just a whole lot of different things that we do on a regular basis that allow us to be able to keep coming together. I mean, I go to different cities, LA, I meet people, and they go, "You still hang out with your friends from high school?" I said, "Man, I still hang out with my friends from fourth grade. It's
Exactly.
just a community. We grew up in a community, not a so big city that I went to Crenshaw, but I didn't hang out with any of these guys because I live clear across over here where on our street we went to 5 or 6 different high schools.
So it's
So
definitely a unique situation we got going on here.
I can hear everything behind you more than you. I don't know what's going on, but that ain't me, is it? No, it ain't. So we're coming up on the 45-minute mark. I think Jamal is going to jump into the announcements, or no?
I will. Hold on. I'm gonna switch back to my headset.
Oh yeah, because I know she don't want her conversation all over Plaza. Her sister's gonna come on and say, "Hey, hear you talking about stuff in the background."
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to switch just in case that was what the reason why Tutu
It was
couldn't hear me.
she just didn't have good signal where she was. I mean,
Yeah, we got to do this again. So we want to recognize that there were technical difficulties, everybody. And we definitely want to have her come back on. We'll get her computer working because she had to get on her phone to get on here. There were some technical issues. So we'll get a better connection, have her back on so we can hear everything she was saying because she had some powerful things.
We also knew she had to be off at 11, so that's why I was trying to shut
that
it down.
too. Absolutely.
So,
all right, so I'll jump into the slides. And where are we? Here we go. All right, as usual, we'll start off with the deadline for the right of entry. That is next Tuesday, April 15th. It's 6 days from now, you guys. 6 days, so don't sleep on this. Still got the disaster recovery centers that are available Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And for those who are unaware, it's at 540 West Woodbury Road in Altadena. And then the one-stop shop for the permit center is at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210 in Altadena. And this is Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, if you want to set up an appointment, the appointments are available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 to 12:30, and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 12. We get this information at recovery.lacounty.gov/rebuilding/one-stop-permit-centers. Today is the town hall where the LA County Department of Public Health is going to discuss the results of the soil and water testing that they did with about 400 homes, and they're going to talk about next steps. There's going to be they're going to provide testing results for the completed assessments, explain what they mean, and answers to your questions, how they can protect you and your health and community during the recovery. This is today at 6 p.m. and it's going to be live streamed on Facebook, X, and YouTube, all at LA Public Health. They all have the same handle. And if you want to submit questions, you can submit them at tinyurl.com/post-fire-town hall. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here real quick. Well, no, I'll go ahead. We got the World Central Kitchen. Actually has a couple locations in the Pasadena area. One is Sierra Madre YMCA at 611 East Sierra Madre Boulevard. And then there's one at Gordy's Garage Parking Lot at 843 West Woodbury Road. Both locations are available Monday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. There's also Iglesia del Nazareno Monday through Saturday, 3541 Brandon Street in Pasadena from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm gonna stop for a second. Are you guys able to hear me pretty well?
Yeah.
Do you hear the background too?
No. Well, barely, but
Oh.
it's not significant.
All right. Cool. Well, you want me to finish the rest?
Go right ahead. This is the last part of the show anyway.
Copy. All right. So let's finish these up. So we got the Dina Relief Drive at Pasadena Church, 425 Sierra Madre Villa Avenue in Pasadena. It's every Saturday from 11 to 4 until they tell us they're going to stop. And if you want to volunteer, you want to go ahead and scan the QR code. Pacific Oaks is actually, they have a distribution on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it's at 45 West Eureka Street in Pasadena. They have new women's clothing, air purifiers, baby formula, face masks, adult diapers and gloves, and disinfectant wipes. Starting last Wednesday, there's a senior luncheon provided by First AME Church every Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at 1700 North Raymond Avenue in Pasadena. There's going to be lunch, games, fellowship, and be much more. If you want to RSVP, you send an email to msz_strong@yahoo.com, or you can call 626-673-2200. The last installation of the Jazzy Jam Glam Prom Dress and Suit giveaway is this weekend, the 12th and 13th. This is where high school seniors get vintage and new suits and dresses, as well as everything else that they need for their prom night. This is going to be at 300 East Colorado Boulevard, Suite 139 and 141 in Pasadena, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You do have to register in order to participate, and you can scan the QR code to register. There is going to be a community event that's going to be, hold on a second. It's going to be Saturday, April 19th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's an Easter egg hunt, family fun day. It's going to be food, music, games, gifts, and much more. It's at 175 North Euclid Avenue in Pasadena. I'm going to stop there because most of the other items that we actually have are not for this weekend, but it was for the future weekends in April, and we'll hit those next week.
Did you mention that one I told you about in Calabasas?
Oh, you know what? I have that, but I didn't mention it. Hold on, let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share that one now. So, okay, the banner kind of blocks it a little bit, but there's a community event. It's going to be in Chatsworth, California. It's 9950 Canoga Avenue in Chatsworth, and it's going to be this Saturday, or April 13th. It's going to be a lot of good stuff. So the Life Driven Foundation is proud to host a special community event to showcase their youth enrichment program, Pathways to Success, which offer much needed relief to support those affected by the fires. Everyone is welcome. That's why we're sharing this particular one, because everyone is welcome, and everybody is, we might have some folks that are out that way when because of being displaced. It's gonna be video games, podcasting 101 workshops, fitness, wellness and boxing mini workshops, mobile health van, bunch of different things, raffles and prizes. To RSVP, go ahead and scan the QR code or go to info@lifedriven.org. And Brian has a little more insight because this is one of his friends putting this on.
Yeah, this is actually Sunday, all day Sunday.
It's Sunday.
So they're going to be having like podcasting classes, all kinds of things for your kids. There's going to be food. I mean, this is a nonprofit from a friend of mine named Melody that I've known for a long time. She's been in the nonprofit realm for years. She helps with, golf tournaments that are for charity and things of that nature. But this is one of the ones that I personally will probably be at myself because it is a friend of mine. So right after I leave the Jazzy Jam, I'm going to head out to Life Driven Foundation, which I checked them out. Everything about them is legit. You know, I don't just show up and tell people about stuff. This is a legit thing. And please, if you have nothing else to do that day after you go to Jazzy Jams, if you got kids, think about there. Have a good time.
Great point.
We're all of these things that we announce, especially moving forward, we're going to be announcing lots of activities around town. We are the portal for the information, but we do check it out first. So we just want to make sure that, you know, because, you know, I've gotten some stuff where this guy was sending me things talking about scan this QR code. This church is sponsoring. I called the church and they go, we don't even know this dude. We're not even doing anything that day. So everything that you see is not true out there. Sometimes people are just trying to gather your information for something that doesn't even exist. So please, people, if you ever have to fill out something, they ask you for your social, your birth date, or your address, unless it's something that you already know is legit, don't do it.
Right.
Because there have been claims that I've actually seen of people going and getting SBA loans on other people's properties because they knew their information. And now these people got to fight identity theft for the next 6 years while they are in the process of getting their homes rebuilt.
Yeah, they still
the money is already taken from them from somebody else. So there are still a lot of scam artists out there. So don't give your address up to anybody unless you're actually signing with a lawyer or something. They have the right to have it because they're representing you. But anybody else, they don't need your address. If somebody says they got to give you some money, but they need your address, then you don't need the money that bad. Because
a simple rule is, hey, if you don't initiate it, don't give them the information.
Nope. So,
you know, it's like we tell our elders, when people call you, unless you called or started this whole process, you don't give your social, any of that information, you know.
There's too much going on, and you do not want to find out later
not at
that
all.
You can't get a loan on your own property that you've been owning all your life, mortgage free for 20 years. That's why you should never really talk to people about what your house situation is, period. I got $1 million in equity. Well, you start talking to people about that, and then they start trying to plot to get that from under you. I've seen so many real estate scams in my lifetime. People, you know, from the ones that happened with the big ones. Like, remember in '88, the one guy that had the whole real estate scam, and he was getting investments for this giant complex of a building, and it never happened.
Right.
There's a lot of things you really have to vet the people you deal with, and this is the reason why we're here. It's because we take this on, relentlessly. We don't mind doing it because we're bringing you information that we are trying to hold dear and true to our Altadena residents. I don't want to be known as the person that's lying all the time, because that's not what I do. I'm transparent.
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything. I mean, I was the person that talked about myself before you could, so that I would win the bagging contest. You wasn't beating me, I'm telling you. And then Eminem stole my idea and did it on his movie 8 Mile. You see, I'm just not appreciating
Did you get paid for that?
I hit him up, man. He don't even know me, man.
He act like you don't know, you know?
That's all right. I was in the studio with you when you was first coming out. It's all good. People that don't know me, I was like, where's Waldo? I was everywhere, but nobody knew. No, for real. I'm not even BSing about that.
I know.
Worked for Suge Knight. He didn't pay. Ended up going to work for Shaq. They paid, and they had a barbecue party every Friday at Twism. Oh, that was the life, boy. 97, 98. I just turned 30. The world was mine, so back up. No, I'm just playing. But we're coming up on 1 minute left. We only do this because of the Facebook change in the rules, as well as Instagram is only allowing you to go an hour. So we appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you, Dr. Author, Dr. Tamitra Clark. That's what I call her.
Yes.
And we appreciate
that was
everything.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yes, we needed that.
And again, we'll have her come back on so we can actually hear everything. We'll have a better connection. And, like a part 2, I think it'll be really, really good.
And if you guys have a story that you want to talk about your version of the fire, this is what this show is for. Please come on, we need you. So appreciate you, everybody.
All right. So
Yes,
everybody,
we are here for everybody. We will not be doing what? I don't even know you. We don't know what you're talking. See, that's our resident.
like 10
Our
minutes ago.
resident who comes in every once in a while, pops in, says something, leaves.
What are you
Okay.
talking about, Corey?
Well, we can't even touch now. It's 1 hour. We got to go. All right, peace out, y'all. We appreciate everything that you have done to make this show, our 60-second show, still go
Can
strong.
you believe it?
Appreciate it.
62. Thank you,
We
guys.
out. We out.